Maria Mary, tide pool, had spent her entire mer life happily cataloging gulfs, gyres, and Gulfstream gossip for Splash 9, the premier undersea news network. In the world below the waves, she was something of a celebrity, the first mermaid meteorologist to combine animation made of living plankton with a voice that could whistle through a conch shell micro-megaphone. If you were a sardine school worried about a rogue eddy or a whale choir scheduling rehearsal around upwelling, you tuned in to Mary at 6 bells. Then the memo arrived in a clam-encrusted bottle. Inter-Realm Cultural Exchange Initiative, it read in squid ink cursive. One aquatic expert will report the weather for the surface dwellers of Channel 7 News Seaside City. Please present yourself topside on the next half tide. Mary assumed it was a prank from the Manta intern until the producer, Ms. Barracuda, swam by with a headset crafted from hermit crab shells and barked, "Pack your seaweed charts, tide pool. You start tomorrow. Don't embarrass the network. Your tail is on the line." The only thing Mary knew about land weather was that it involved clouds, puffy things that stole water, and that humans panicked whenever it rained, as if the sky were trying to give them a friendly rinse. But the Cultural Exchange Bureau was non-negotiable. So, at dawn, she surfaced beside the pier, flopped onto a luggage cart, and was promptly wheeled into the Channel 7 studio with all the casual dignity of a beached tuna. The newsroom smelled of coffee, an aroma she decided was burnt plankton, and the floor felt suspiciously dry. A tall producer named Gloria, armed with a clipboard and a perpetual look of despair, greeted her. "Mary Tidepool? No, Tidepole, whatever. Welcome. You'll do the lunchtime forecast in 4 hours." "Lovely," Mary chirped, desperately hiding the fact she had no earthly idea how to read a barometer. "Could someone point me to the nearest kelp bed? I need a comfort environment." "We have a water cooler," Gloria suggested. Mary spent 3 minutes hugging the cooler before she realized it was not, in fact, cooler water. She almost cried when she tasted the chlorine. Backstage, a makeup artist attempted to powder Mary's scales. Another human tried to blow-dry her hair. 3.5 seconds later, the studio breaker tripped, and the blow-dryer belched smoke. Chaos had a scent, and it was toasted seaweed. Still, Mary tried to prepare. She consulted her trusty Conchplex computer, a spiraled shell that glowed when tapped, and analyzed the undercurrent maps. Near the coast, a warm eddy twisted northward. By her maritime logic, that meant pleasantly balmy with gentle southbound drift. She translated it for Gloria. Expect mild ripples and minimal algae displacement. Gloria blinked. "Right, on land we call that sunny with light breezes. Good enough." At precisely noon, the anchor, Devon's steel cheekbones, hewn from marble and ego polished to a mirror, introduced her. And now, a very special treat from our underwater neighbors. Here's our guest meteorologist, Mary Tide something. The camera's tally light glowed red. Mary slithered across the green screen, which was actually bright blue, clutched her sparkly starfish pointer, and greeted Seaside City. "Salutations, surface dwellers." She flashed a 100-watt smile. Literally, bioluminescent freckles lit up across her cheeks. "Today's conditions are charmingly tepid, with visibility down to... Oh, do you measure fathoms up here?" Off-screen, Gloria executed an Olympic-level facepalm. Mary soldiered on. "To the east, a mischievous swirl," she gestured toward a satellite image, thinking it was a sonar scan, "should nudge clouds towards your suburbs, so perhaps postpone air breather picnics till after second tide. Lunch." Somehow her mangled jargon sounded authoritative. The viewers loved the novelty. Social media exploded with hashtags, Mermaid Meter and Fathom That Forecast. Rating spikes aside, the station brass realized they had a viral sensation. Murray, however, was mortified. She'd basically compared a cumulonimbus to a nosy shrimp. That evening, she face-pebbled her best friend, called her the comedy crab. "I'm floundering." "Land weather is all puffs and pressures. What's a millibar?" Calder clacked his claws. "Relax. Clouds are just sky currents, right? Treat them like thermoclines flipped upside down. Find the pattern, crack a joke, leave 'em laughing." Easier said than done. The next morning, Gloria strutted in wielding a folder the size of a giant clam. Tomorrow's the big Spring Splash Festival, she explained. Thousands will be outdoors. We need hour-by-hour accuracy. No whimsical seashell guesswork. Mary gulped. She opened the folder. Charts everywhere. Isobars, dew points, radar loops. They resembled abstract art painted by a drunken octopus. She tried to cross-section with oceanic data, searching for overlaps. There were some. The Gulf Stream did tug the jet stream. El Niño was basically a temper tantrum current that changed everything. But she needed a shortcut. Enter Bubbles. Bubbles was a pigeon with one feather askew and the eyes of someone who'd flown into too many windows. He'd been loitering on the studio sill, and when Mary awkwardly clicked her tongue in cetacean, Bubbles tilted his head. "Do you know the sky?" Mary asked. "Coo," Bubbles replied, but he hopped onto her pointer stick. Perfect. Assistant meteorologist, she decided. They spent the afternoon on the roof. Mary perched in a kiddie pool, scribbling notes while Bubbles circled overhead. When he swooped low, she interpreted his altitude as anemometer data. When he pooped, she logged viscosity, cloud saturation, she called it. Calder, patched in via shell phone, provided comedic commentary. She gradually built a surface current translation table. Warm eddy equals high pressure ridge. Cold upwelling equals cold front. Kelp bloom equals pollen count. Roaming dolphin pod equals migratory jet stream bulge. Don't overthink it. By nightfall, she drafted a forecast spanning temperature, precipitation, and something called chance of umbrellas turning inside out. She also had a 5-minute routine comparing cumulus formations to fashionable sea foams. Stratus is so last season. Look at that voluptuous cirrus, darling. Festival day dawned cloudless. Mary's stomach, however, churned like a whirlpool. Gloria marched her to the set. The anchor teased the upcoming hit, "Will sunshine keep shining, or will our oceanside bash get washed away?" Find out from Mary, the mermaid of meteorology. The camera rolled. Mary inhaled, filling her gills out of habit, then remembered she was in air and coughed. "Recovery!" She flashed her biolights and began. Fathomates, gather round! Below the surface, a warm coral kiss is snuggling the coastline, which up here translates to a high-pressure cuddle. That means bright skies so brilliant even the sardines would need sunglasses. She tapped the digital map. Bubbles landed on it, conveniently atop the spot where she'd placed an icon of sunglasses. The viewers cooed in unison. At 2 p.m., a flirtatious pocket of sea-cooled breeze will waft inland. Expect temperatures to dip a smidgen, perfect for twirling, splashing, and whichever line dances you bipeds favor. She segued into pollen talk, referencing kelp bloom indices. If you have gills, you're fine. If not, maybe grab a nose net. Humans call them masks, I'm told. Finally, 0% chance of precipitation until sundown. After that, we might see a drizzle, the sky equivalent of plankton tickles, no biggie. Applause erupted in the studio. Even Devon Steele cracked a genuine grin, which, rumor had it, only happened under total solar eclipses. 3 hours later, the festival was in full swing. Cotton candy, ukulele bands, toddlers pounding on steel drums shaped like pufferfish. Murray, occupying a kiddie pool booth, signed autographs on waterproof postcards. For once, her forecast seemed golden. Then she felt it, a subtle pressure drop, the kind only merfolk noticed along their lateral lines. Out at sea, currents shifted. The warm eddy reversed direction, yanking cold upwelling toward shore. Underwater, that spelled uh-oh. On land, it spelled thunderstorm. She fumbled her cont communicator, called Calder. "Emergency, current inversion. Give me a delta T to cumulonimbus." Calder did crab math. Ballpark? 90 minutes before the first sky boom. 90 minutes. Not enough to evacuate a crowd this size without causing stampede, but long enough to ruin her credibility if she did nothing. She scanned the horizon, clouds already rearing like gray stallions. She bolted for the mobile stage, water sloshing in her kiddie pool shoes, technically garden trowels strapped to her fins. She yanked Devon's mic mid-speech some diatribe about funnel cakes and addressed the festival goers. "Attention, cherished surface friends. A surprise performance by, Mother Nature is scheduled sooner than expected. Let's relocate to safety before she starts her percussion solo." Most people chuckled, assuming it was part of the entertainment. Mary needed authority. She spotted a dunk tank shaped like a giant clam. Inspiration struck. She climbed its ladder, tail flopping, and dove headfirst into the tank. The splash echoed, drenching the mayor, two mascots, and a kettle corn vendor. Emerging, hair slicked and eyes glowing with phosphorescence, she bellowed in her native sonar. The sound vibrated through bone and bench alike. Even the loudspeakers rattled. Humans might not speak sonar, but they felt the urgency. Parents gathered kids, vendors battened hatches, festival staff pivoted to the nearby community center designated as a rain shelter. 15 minutes later, the sky cracked open. Rain hammered with the fury of 1,000 irate clams, lightning scribbled jagged signatures, and wind turned umbrellas into avant-garde sculptures. But everyone was inside, safe wet, but not storm-tossed. Through the community center windows, Mary watched the tempest and smiled grimly. Her forecast had failed, yet her instincts had saved the day. Back at the studio, executives debated whether to applaud or fire her. Ratings were skyrocketing, but liability waivers trembled like jellyfish. They needn't have worried. Social media exploded again, this time with footage of Mary's dramatic dunk tank dive. Mermaid Saved the Day was trending higher than a viral cat in a shark costume. Still, Mary felt she'd breached a personal code. If she stayed, she'd need to conquer surface science properly, or retreat to the ocean depths where her confidence floated. That night, she visited the pier, dangling her tail in the surf. Gloria found her there. "You did good," the producer said, sitting cross-legged, ignoring rogue splashes. "I mispredicted," Mary replied. "One rogue inversion and I was as clueless as a crab in a maelstrom." "Welcome to terrestrial meteorology," Gloria chuckled. "We're wrong half the time, even with PhDs and satellites. The point is minimizing the oops." "And you did that marvelously," Mary traced spirals in the water. "But I want to do better than half." "Then learn both worlds," Gloria shrugged. "Trade your conch charts for cloud models, cross-section currents. Take a human class, we'll supply coffee. You bring plankton puns." Mary considered the offer. "Do I still get my conch microphone? And maybe a humidifier installed by the green screen?" "Deal. Also, corporate says you need a catchphrase. Something splashy. How about stay breezy? Land cheesy?" "Workshopping is vital," Gloria muttered. Thus began Mary's quest for dual mastery. Mornings she attended online courses in atmospheric dynamics, the webcam barely showing her submerged half. Afternoons she consulted oceanographers, bridging datasets no one had thought to correlate tide height against barometric oscillations, krill migration against pollen spikes. Don't laugh, there was a weird match in April. Evenings she grilled bubbles on sky conditions. In exchange, she provided him leftover anchovy pizza. A month later, Seaside City faced its grandest challenge, the annual Sandcastle World Cup. Architects of silica flocked from every continent, erecting replicas of palaces, pyramids, and one ambitious fellow sculpting an entire dragon curling down the beach. Millions in sponsorships, televised coverage, and the wobbly pride of local tourism depended on favorable weather. Channel 7 had exclusive broadcast rights. The brass called in all hands. "If we botch this," Gloria warned, "we'll be covering sock puppet parades for the rest of eternity. Mary, you're up. Give us the 5-day. Mary inhaled the moist studio air. They'd finally installed the humidifier and clicked her complex. Oceanic patterns indicated a cold core eddy poised to rotate clockwise, historically pulling moist air inland, but atmospheric models predicted a stubborn high-pressure bubble. The two systems seemed at odds. She decided to fuse them. She programmed her computer to overlay sea surface temperature anomalies onto upper-level wind charts. The result produced a baby blue spiral kissing a crimson swirl right offshore. To Mary, it looked like an engaged seahorse couple. To scientists, it screamed potential coastal surprise storm. She cross-checked with Bubbles, who'd been flying peculiar figure eights. Altitude drop? Check. Pressure dip? Check. She trusted the bird. Next, she needed comedic sugar to make the gloom go down. When airtime arrived, she donned a plastic beach pail as a hat and opened with, "Castle constructors, hold your moats." Devon Steele rolled his eyes so hard they nearly orbited Neptune. Mary continued, pointer tapping the map like a drumstick. See this swanky swirl of ocean, cold, flirting with sky heat? Meteorological matchmaking at its finest. But sparks means storms, specifically Friday afternoon, just in time to drench your turrets. She offered contingencies: accelerate judging, waterproof detailing with marine shellac, volunteer tarps shaped like giant sea stars. She ended with, keep calm and scallop on. The next 4 days were flawless beach weather. Viewers began grumbling online. Mermaid crying wolf wave, wrote one skeptic. Even Channel 7 sports guy joked that Mer might be better off predicting scores for water polo. Friday morning dawned pristine again. Devon smirked on air, brandishing a sand shovel. Looks like, boom. Thunder roared so loud the anchor's coffee performed a small fountain impression. Within minutes, the horizon transformed into a dark iron curtain. Mary's storm barrel rolled toward shore. Wind howled, sending plastic shovels tumbling. Yet thanks to her warning, organizers had already expedited the judging. The winners posed under ponchos while volunteers zipped tarps over the masterpieces, saving them from soggy demise. Ratings soared. Rival stations sulked. Scientists from the National Weather Institute called, asking for Mary's data overlay template. She sent it gladly, along with a seashell emoji. That night, the mayor awarded her a key to the city fashion from recycled boat propeller and mounted on driftwood, suitable for underwater display. During the ceremony, Bubbles dive-bombed the podium, stealing a decorative ribbon. The crowd laughed. Mary gave her catchphrase one last polish: stay buoyant, Seaside City. The audience roared. Devon even clapped, though his palms barely touched. Progress. Back in her new office, a hybrid cubicle with half-submerged Mary pinned the key beside a sticky note reading, surface plus subsurface equals supersurface science. Calder buzzed in via shell Zoom. Heard you nailed it, Starfish, the crab said. Finally bridging the Great Divide? Indeed, Mary beamed. Turns out land weather and sea weather are siblings. They just needed family therapy. Any chance you'll remember us little folk when you're queen of forecast a lot? I'll never forget my roots or my fins, she winked. Besides, where else would I get my comedic material besides crab podcasts? As midnight neared, Mary swam lazy laps in her office tank while scribbling new joke notes. Isabar? I barely know her, she giggled. Gloria passed by, sighing affectionately. You're never going to be normal, are you? Normal is a setting on a washing machine, Mary quipped, and even that depends on water cycles. The producer shook her head, smiling. See you at sunrise, big heat wave brewing. Or, Mary countered, eyes twinkling with phosphorescent mischief, just a warm core ring doing the cha-cha. She raised her conch microphone, recording an outro for tomorrow's tease. Outside, lightning flickered far offshore, nature's way of winking back, and somewhere between the shifting currents of sea and sky, a mermaid meteorologist found her perfect climate, equal parts science, salt, and stand-up.